Welcome to my neighborhood. We're not too far from downtown Ottawa. A lot of young families live here. Small homes, big lots, but the look of my neighborhood is changing. Take this. It used to be one house, now it's 6 separate units. And every big city is looking at some variation on that idea, a change to zoning rules. It's supposed to make it easier for people to move into neighborhoods like this one. But how will that work? And at the end of the day, is it going to make it any easier to afford a place to live? If you grew up thinking you might one day own a home, chances are you were picturing a neighborhood like this. A typical, quiet, residential neighborhood, big backyard. But now that dream's out of reach for a lot of people, and in part, it's because of something called R1 exclusionary zoning. Exclusionary because the zoning rules mean you can only build one type of building here, one house on one lot. Now, it's not that no one wanted to build duplexes or triplexes or low-rise apartments here. The thing is that up until now, that was either illegal or at least really complicated to get approved. Let's go back in time. Most neighborhoods used to look like this. Grocery stores, gas stations, public transit, they were all built around middle-class families in what were considered moderate-sized homes. But the population grew. Small neighborhoods expanded. The wave of development sprawled outwards. That's not sustainable, though. And as cities get more populated, we somehow need to fit more people into this limited space we've got. So here's the province's plan. Build 1.5 million homes in already established neighborhoods. And the idea is if you increase the supply, you're gonna bring down the cost of rent and the price of a new house. But how do you actually do that? Remember all those one home, one lot R1 zones? They're about to override those municipal zoning laws. Imagine 3 units where there used to be 1. Want to build a home in your garden or laneway? Go for it. Turning your home into a duplex or a triplex? All good. The city can't say no. It sounds promising, right? But here's what's also in the current legislation. Cities are being told to stop collecting some money that developers are forced to pitch in for the added use of city infrastructure and services. More people living in each neighborhood means more people are going to be using those roads, taking the bus, flushing their toilets, using electricity. But developers making profits from selling properties, they don't have to help cover the increased costs that come with that. And that's not all. The legislation also cuts the land set aside for parks by half. More buildings, less protected green space. Oh, and the city won't have a say in the look of buildings that are smaller than 10 units, so say goodbye to the character of certain neighborhoods. But all of this is for a good cause, right? Getting more people to live within the city limits. Well, I wanted to run that by Rosalind J. Hill. She's an architect modeling the future of housing, and she's been doing that for years.
Some people are concerned that the housing crisis is now going to be absorbed in 3-unit buildings in neighborhoods, and that's not going to be the result of the bill. It gives everybody a heads up that we're going to have to deal with some change, and that's really helpful. But having a clear vision for our neighborhoods is equally or probably more important, and municipalities are going to have to work on that and get a clear idea of where they want their neighborhoods to go. You have to keep in mind the rate at which buildings are replaced. It's quite a slow rate, so if you add in a unit here and there or increase the number of units on a lot here and there, cumulatively you're not going to see enough change to make a big difference.
Here's the thing, we're not going to build ourselves out of this. The issues are too complex. The house that used to sit here, it sold for under $500,000. That was just before the pandemic. And the 3 duplexes that replaced that one home, well, they each sold for $900,000.
We need to be creative in all forms of new housing. And most importantly, I'd say we need to be really thoughtful about how we intensify our existing neighborhoods. Right now, we use zoning in a pretty haphazard way, and it's just a relic of the past. But we can reverse engineer our zoning to get what we want, multi-unit buildings that fit into the street context. That's really the key. Because if we don't make that transition with our neighborhoods, we're not going to meet our emissions targets and we're not going to meet our housing targets.
So will this new legislation make housing more affordable? Not right away. The next 10 years are expected to see hundreds of thousands of new homes in cities across the country, but experts say it's going to take a really long time for the price of homes and the price of rents to come down. Just imagine all of the time it's going to take developers and homeowners to transform lots like these into something else entirely. But one thing's for sure, what we're doing now, it's not sustainable. And everyone, from planners to politicians, they're starting to look at radical new ways of making change.